Welcome to Black Owned Spotlight. I'm your host, Darnell Beckford. Welcome to Season 2. I want to thank everybody for nothing but your love and support. If you haven't checked out Season 1, check out Season 1. And I want to thank all the businesses for showing us nothing but love and support. You know what it is? Roll the highlights. Welcome back to the Black Owned Spotlight. I'm here with Semaj, the founder of the Dropout 704 podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to come and speak with you and highlight your podcast. So the first question I want to ask is, how did you come up with the name for your podcast, and what is your podcast about?
So the Dropout 704 was created because me and my boy were thinking about a brand, and our brand statement is basically dropping out of society's predetermined notions of who you're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, there's no one size fits all remedy to life. And we started doing shows, making music, doing stuff like that. So we got into podcasting. And through our podcast, we pretty much do something pretty similar to yourself. We talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, athletes, people who are just, a lot of times just doing the things against the norm, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Or as long as just doing something that's true to themselves. But yeah, we started the podcast just because we spent so much time talking to one another. We were like, man, we should do a podcast, you know what I'm saying? And you just ran with it.
Yeah, that's great. So, name some of the guests that you had on your podcast as far as athletes or entertainers that you featured on your podcast.
So recently, we actually had a UFC fighter, Brian Battle, on our podcast. That was a super sick one. We had Brian Battle. We've had a lot of our other friends. One of my friends, Fabrizio, he comes on here a lot. One of my best friends who I made the Dropout 704 with, Blake, he's on here. My girlfriend, Brianna LeBron. We have a lot of people. We've had yogis. One of our friends, Sierra, she goes to India to study yoga. So we had her come talk about her experience there, and she's actually back out there right now too.
Oh, that's sick. That's one of the many countries I always wanted to visit and see what it's like to live over there. Now, in terms of mentors, I know that we all have mentors some way or another. Who was your professional mentor, or who did you look up to in the podcasting industry to be like, you know what, I can model my podcast after them or similar to them?
I feel like everyone's podcast mentor is like Joe Rogan, you know what I mean? I like his show, because he has everyone on his show, not just one specific type of person, just people who we could have interesting conversations with. Right. So Joe Rogan was one of them. I watch a lot of podcasts. Impulsive, it's Logan Paul has a podcast. Okay. I've watched that one. It features him, Mike Malak. George Janko was on that podcast. If you guys know about the drama, you know what I mean, it's getting crazy with them boys over there. But yeah, I would credit those two to be the main ones, Joe Rogan and Logan Paul.
Okay, that's what's up. I definitely understand that, and I definitely feel that. One of my mentors that I've watched, and I kind of copy my style after, is Earn Your Leisure, and they mainly talk about business, finances, and of course they have interviews with different people. So I want to shout out to Earn Your Leisure, because without you guys, I wouldn't have the drive and inspiration to kind of do what I'm doing right now, along with some other people as well, like O'Shea Duke Jackson, Tariq Nasheed, a whole bunch of other guys that I really looked up to, and I watch. I'm like, you know what? I can kind of model myself after them a little bit, tweak some things here and there. So I got to give them a lot of credit and a lot of shout out. So in terms of, in your opinion, what is your personality trait or strength in someone that you kind of look forward into, like, you know, growing your podcast or having a podcast to succeed?
I would say just someone who likes talking, you know what I mean? Just like someone who's conversational and likes to ask questions. Someone who's genuinely interested.
Right.
Because, you know, as long as you're genuinely interested, you're going to have questions that you're going to want answered. You're going to, like, know what you want to talk to people about.
Right. And definitely. So in terms of, you know, being a entrepreneur, predominantly a Black entrepreneur at that, what is it like, and, you know, how can you kind of differentiate yourself from other entrepreneurs who have podcasts?
You mean being a Black entrepreneur with a podcast?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, simply just being Black. Like, you know, being Black on screen, you know, it's definitely a different look. I've noticed that a lot of the people who see me online will gravitate towards me. A lot of them are young Black kids, you know, because I guess they see someone who they see themselves in, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And fortunately, we have a podcast where we have a bunch of different ethnicities and stuff that get on there. And we try to have guests from everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
That's dope. So, Nate, I have, like, you know, a whole bunch of questions to ask you, but what are the 3 people that impacted you, and how did they impacted you to have that support system to be like, you know what, you have an idea, we fully support you. Is this what you want to, you know, have your podcast or have any kind of career in? Who were those 3 people, and how did they impact you in where you are right now?
3 people, I say. First, not really a person, but you gotta give the flowers to God, you know what I'm saying? And beyond that, I would say one of my best friends who I do the podcast with, Blake. He's always really believed in what I was doing, you know, and I would say he's one of the first people who, like, saw it and believed it, and that was definitely super motivating and whatnot. I come from, you know, parents from Jamaica, you know what I'm saying? So, like, being like, oh, I'm gonna make videos, I'm gonna blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck? Like, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Totally understand. I totally understand.
So, like, having friends who, like, genuinely liked what I was doing, that was really helpful. My girlfriend, she is super supportive. You know, anytime I need her help with something, holding the camera or something like that, you know, we get that going. And then I would say that last spot, I'm gonna just have to say, like, it was just kind of the amount of people who were interested in coming on the show, you know, that really motivated us to be like, all right, you know, we got something good going.
Yeah. And on that, like, what video did you know that be like, you know what, we finally got something here. I think this can actually work.
Yeah.
What video specifically was that?
So that's a really good question, man. So the very first video we did that, like, worked, because, you know, I've been doing this for years, was the first video that went really kind of viral. There was this community where it was like an intentional community, but people on TikTok were calling it a cult. So we went there. Well, we did our research and we were like, no, like a cult, but, like, really, it was really trendy. Yeah. So we went there and we did our own documentary of what it was like there and the things that was going on, did some interviews with people. And that was the first video where I put it on YouTube, and YouTube's algorithm picked it up, and people started watching it. I actually got DM'd by Vice, the page, to use the video in one of their documentaries. So, and that, like, when I was there, I knew I had a good story because, like, as I was recording, they were like, oh yeah, Vice just left. And I was like, oh snap, like, Vice is about to put a piece out on this. So, you know, we put ours out a lot faster, obviously. Smaller team, and then we got our video out, and then afterwards, even when Vice dropped their video, so they asked me to use my video, but, like, now the rest of my team handles the emails because I don't be reading the emails and stuff like that. But yeah, when they put their video out too, that even got more traffic, 2 hours. So I think that video is probably at, like, maybe like 50K was probably, like, the highest video we have on YouTube. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Definitely. Hopefully one day, you know, we can go viral with one of our clips and get that type of viewership. So Another question I always want to ask, um, as far as productivity, is there any hacks of productivity of being an entrepreneur? Is there any kind of like secret shortcuts or to success of being an entrepreneur?
I would say, nope.
I guess not.
You gotta open that for my fault.
No, you
The
good.
first secret to entrepreneurship, I would say, is have a dog. Just leave it open so she can come in and out. It would be just get a pet dog, to keep you on your toes. But nah, I would say one of the things, you got to work hard. You know what I'm saying? But in working hard, it's really not that hard of work. It's just be consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're doing something small, like just do something every day, and that'll get you a lot further. And really, because entrepreneurship, obviously, you got to have passion, but it's a competitive field. And you don't realize that you'll get so far ahead by doing a little bit every day, because most people just ain't trying to do nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'd say that. And another thing that I do is I have a couple different interests, and that just kind of helps me stay productive. If I get burnt out on something, like I get bored of doing a certain thing, it's cool to have other things to lean on as well.
Right, and that's great advice, and that's great perspective. Now, another question I also want to ask as well is, what is the benefits in terms of the advantage and disadvantage of having a podcast and being an entrepreneur, especially a Black entrepreneur? Because right now, I feel like we have so many, people that look like us in different industries, whether it be tech, whether it be financial, whether it be the entertainment, whether it be sports. What are the benefits and advantages and disadvantages of being a Black entrepreneur?
The disadvantages, I would say, would be like, maybe just people having predetermined notions of who you are and like what you're going to be doing or what you're all about,
Right.
and whatnot. And I wouldn't say that that's necessarily something that holds us back. We don't really let it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We do what we gotta do. The advantages is just being able to have conversations with people that you otherwise probably wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like a business owner, I could be like, "Hey, could I pick your brain about this thing?"
Mm-hmm.
And homie gonna be like, "Bruh, no. Like I got stuff to do today."
Right.
But then when it's like, "Oh, hey, will you come on my podcast? We want to interview you, blah blah blah," and you give people a platform and a spotlight, then it's easier to get them to come and give you information and whatnot. So I would say that's one of the like biggest benefits. And entrepreneurship in general, you gotta be able to go with the ups and downs. Sometimes business is booming, other times it's not exactly what you want it to be.
Right.
And you just gotta kind of deal with that. But we also get a lot of support from other Black creators, and that's a beautiful thing. So
All right. That's a great segue right there as well, because I've noticed the rise of Black media, not only Black media but Black content creation, Black Twitter, of course. I've seen that the power that we have when we come together and we're not really competing against one another, we stay together as one. I want to know, do you think that we should continue to stay together and have that power, that economic power that we also know that we have, especially buy-in power? Do you think that we should continue to stay together, not really always compete and try to up one another? And because I definitely feel like there's strength in numbers when we are together.
Yeah. Forget them white people, bro. No, I'm fucking. Nah, man. I think that there's it's beautiful in having Black communities and like Black media that can get together. I don't have one of those like crabs in a bucket mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like there's space for everybody to continue to grow. I'd love seeing like the brothers and sisters like get their stuff going and be able to elevate their businesses, especially in the media. And like you said, one thing you said is like Black content creators. That's sometimes really hard to find, bro. Like
Right.
sometimes when I'm trying to structure like, okay, I'm working on vlogs, blah blah blah. I'm trying to figure out like how I want to do it. a lot of times it's difficult to find people who look like us, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, who are doing it. So I think it is good to have these communities, and it's good for us to do it because it just encourages other young black kids to do it. You know, they're like, oh, this is an option for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're looking on TV and you see someone who inspires you, you're like, they don't have to be the same race as you.
Right.
But I feel like when they are, there's like that, it's easier to see yourself in them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah, I think that, you know, we should continue to build the community, and it doesn't need to be so competitive in terms of like content creation. We could all work together, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm still a competitive person, but I look at it as like it could be healthy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm gonna keep working hard to like and tell you, bro, like, let's get it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to make videos with you, etc. and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm on that.
Yeah. So, and one of my two final questions I wanted to ask, and I always wanted to ask this, because everybody's answer is a little bit different. What does Black excellence mean to you, and how do you define Black excellence?
I think Black excellence to me is just being authentic in your blackness, you know what I'm saying? And I think that that's the same way that I would define it as well. Just being able to be true to who you are, regardless of anything, you know, regardless of other races expecting you to be something, or even other black people expecting something out of you, you know what I'm saying? Just being able to be a proud black human being, you know?
All right. And I definitely feel that. Now, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now and being in the position that you're in right now? What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
18-year-old me, keep working hard and stop try chase all the gal them, dog.
For real.
Yo, the gal them not go nowhere, dog. I promise you that, dog. You know what I'm saying? Now, for real though, I would tell like any young kid, you know what I'm saying, like, don't focus on the girls and all this stuff. Like, you know, obviously at that age, like, that's gonna be something real important to you. But at the end of the day, man, just keep working, keep being authentic, and it's gonna work itself out. Believe in yourself, especially if you 18. You got man, you got so much time ahead of you. If you 18 and you have an idea of what you want to do, run with it. And luckily, I did when I was that age.
Great. That's a great answer, and a great way to, you know, kind of ask you this one final question here. And I'm gonna try to phrase it as best as I possibly can. What advice would you give to someone that comes to you and say, hey, Semaj, I'm thinking about doing a podcast? Is there any tips? Is there any fresh ideas that you would want to see as a content creator and not make it so saturated in the algorithm? Because I definitely feel like when we go on YouTube, there's a lot of the same things. In terms of podcasting and content creation, people reacting to videos, doing pranks, those type of things. And I believe that we're so much more than that. What advice would you give to someone that's a content creator that wants to create a podcast, wants to come with you with fresh ideas and a fresh new perspective on content creation?
So I love that, bro. And that's actually where we're heading next with our podcast, is doing things more than just sitting down and having a podcast, right? If I had unlimited funds, boy, if I had Joe Rogan money, like, literally what I would do is like go on excursions, right? Like, do a podcast doing something like different, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could go do a podcast like being like, hey, we gonna go to this restaurant, but you know, you're gonna put down, you could bring a little mobile podcasting thing, talk while you're doing that. If I had the bread, I would go podcasting and bring people skydiving. That would be the thing. We talk before we go down, and then when we get up on the plane, we'll have a conversation, and I would get certified to like skydive with people so they could be strapped onto me. And then when we jump out the plane, I'll keep asking them questions. And like, they're just like, ah! You like try to talk to them and stuff. And then, you know, at the end, when you pull the chute and you're just looking out or whatever, right? That would be super sick. You know, if you are a skydiver and you do that idea, at least shout me out. That's a $1 million idea right there, man. If I just can't do it. That's the only reason I'm not gonna gatekeep it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got a couple good ones locked and loaded, but I can't let them all be known. But I'll let that one be known because I don't know any skydivers. You know.
All right. And before we go, is there anything you want to promote as far as a business or?
I want to promote, if you want to get your own podcast and stuff set up, I help people do that. I got a business called Sinclair Strategies where we help people strategize their social medias. And if you trying to get down with that, you know, hit your boy up. Also, I'm a musician as well. So Semaj Sinclair, you can look me up on all DSPs. That's Spotify, iTunes, anything, anywhere they streaming music. I got my music out there. Semaj Sinclair, listen to some songs, follow me.
All right. And again, I want to thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. And I really want to say this from not only myself, but the community, our community. We appreciate you and what you're doing in terms of podcasts and having anything on the site that's productive and positive. So we really are proud of you. I appreciate you and thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Thank you for having me, man.
And there you have it. Stay tuned in the next episode of Black Owned Spotlight.
Peace.